In less than 2 hours from now, Prime Minister Modi will be addressing the nation. At 8 p.m. is when the slotted address will happen. Prime Minister Modi will be speaking for the first time on Operation Sindoor. He's been, of course, a part of several meetings. Today, too, chaired a key meet in which the Chief of Defence Staff, the three service chiefs, Defence Minister, External Affairs Minister, the NSA were all present. The Prime Minister, we know, has been tracking very, very closely all of the updates that have been coming in on Operation Sindoor. But there'll be a great deal of focus on this speech, the address that he puts out at 8 p.m. This is his first address to the nation since Operation Sindoor actually commenced. Remember, before this, right after the Pahalgam terror attack, the Prime Minister had vowed revenge, had reiterated that his resolve to fight terror has only been strengthened with the Pahalgam terror attack. And that's what we also witnessed in the last few days as well, with how Operation Sindoor had taken place and the clear message from the Prime Minister that there's full freedom to our forces as to what, where, how the retaliation to Pakistan will be. It's been evident in how we've seen not just phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of Operation Sindoor actually progress. Now, reportedly, the Prime Minister every single day has been taking note real time of exactly what really has emerged after these operations. Let me take this across to Gaurav Sawant, who's joining us live from our newsroom. We have Sandeep Punitam with me here in the studio and Aishwarya Paliwal joining us live as well. Gaurav, I'd like to begin with you. There's a lot of focus on the Prime Minister's address. Possibly, it could also give us details of why the Prime Minister felt the need for an Operation Sindoor to hit back at Pakistan in such a strong manner.
After Pakistan-backed terror targeted Hindu tourists in Jammu and Kashmir in Pahalgam, singled them out, those who said they were Hindus were shot dead at point-blank range. And in one instance, when a widow said, "Kill me," the terrorist said, "Jao Modi ko batao." The government very clearly decided enough was enough. Let's go and target terror in Pakistan. And this is what India's consistent line has been, that we are only hitting terror at source. What has been unprecedented in this case, remember what Prime Minister Narendra Modi pledged and promised at that rally in Bihar, where he said this would be unprecedented, akalpaniya. The adversary would not even have imagined this can happen, something like this. और आतंक को मिट्टी में मिला देंगे उसकी जमीन पर. This is exactly what India has done. It is unprecedented. And Sandeep and I, who've been covering counter-terror operations for more than 2 decades, we could not have imagined terror being hit at source at Bahawalpur and at Muridke. What was also akalpaniya is hitting terror at source in places like Noor Khan Air Base, Sargodha, which is amongst Pakistan's best fortified air bases, taking out Pakistan's air defense, or a very major section of it facing India in Pakistan's Punjab province, and targeting Pakistan all along from Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Skardu in Ladakh, and which is our territory in illegal Pakistan possession, down to Bolari in Sindh, and through Pakistan's Punjab province, from Jacobabad, where they have their F-16 fighter jets, to Noor Khan, which is their command and control center, to Rafiki, where they have their UAVs and UCAVs, to their radars. So it's just unprecedented, the kind of action. 11 military targets acquired in under half an hour is perhaps stuff that only military analysts and perhaps movies will be made about an operation like this in future.
Yeah, so obviously for this kind of a step to have been taken, there needed to have been political resolve as well. And that's where, of course, the government also steps in. Let me also bring in Sandeep on this broadcast. Sandeep, what are your expectations from the Prime Minister's address? I think the biggest question everyone has now is what next? So do you think the Prime Minister perhaps could also give us a sense of how we'll continue putting pressure on Pakistan?
Absolutely, Akshita. I think the Prime Minister is going to be giving us the big picture, really. There are a lot of questions, not tactical, strategic. For instance, what is Operation Sindoor? Will it continue, for instance? The Indian Air Force has very clearly said that the operation continues. How is India going to enunciate its doctrine against terrorism? Is there a doctrinal shift over here when he talks about, when the government of India talks about the fact that any terror act will be seen as an act of war? Then in that case, will the armed forces then be used to target the terrorists and terrorist training camps and infrastructure, as they have demonstrated in the last couple of days. So we will be expecting the big picture from the Prime Minister. Of course, there will be a lot of talk about how India is the land of Buddha and Mahatma Gandhi and Shivaji and Lord Ram and all of that. It is a land of peace and warriors who fight, righteous battles. All of that will be there, of course. Enormous signaling to the rest of the world. Everybody is literally waiting to hear this, not just in India, Akshita, but across the world. Every single capital will be tuning into the Prime Minister's address now, because he's been very quiet through this entire rampage of the Indian Air Force against terror infrastructure, unprecedented attacks. I cannot recall another time post-independence when the Indian Air Force has struck so many targets in the span of just 30 minutes. Not even during the 1971 war, Akshita, has the Indian Air Force targeted the enemy with such devastating precision across the length and breadth of Pakistan, cratering all of those air bases, smashing their infrastructure on the ground, holding their radars, creating large holes through their air defense networks, and also indicating that this may be just 3 phases of Operation Sindoor. Look down south into the Arabian Sea. You have the Indian Navy mobilizing there with all its warships of the Western Fleet, with the aircraft carrier and its fighter jets. The 4th phase of Operation Sindoor could come from there. So enormous politico-military signaling where the government of India has shown its resolve. Prime Minister Modi has shown his resolve to use all instruments of state power, whether it is political, economic, and of course, military, to target terrorism in Pakistan. And you saw for the first time yesterday with the DGMO's press conference, all services on the same page when it comes to tackling terrorism emanating from Pakistan. And the very big message I think the Prime Minister would give, Akshita, is the fact that our war is not with the people of Pakistan. It is with the Pakistan military, which sponsors terrorism, which has built, reared, maintained this infrastructure of terrorism for the last 4 decades. And the big message would be that if you think that you're going to use terrorism against India as a low-cost option, well, there are going to be high costs for that option, because when you look at the smoking military bases, the smashed radars and the infrastructure on the ground, it is for General Asim Munir to sit with his generals and start calculating the cost of all of that smashed military infrastructure. How many IMF loans will it take General Munir and his crore commanders to actually build up their defenses to what it was pre the 6th of May? That is the big message that has to really go out, and which I am sure the Prime Minister will put out this evening, Akshita.
You detailed, Sandeep, what makes this strike so unprecedented. Perhaps that's the result of also giving a complete free hand to our forces, as this government has repeatedly said that they have, as a result of which we've seen really the success, the roaring success of Operation Sindoor.